All right, Uttitha Trikonasanana. Set yourself up comfortably with whatever props you have available. I'm going to go with a bolster, blanket for under my head, blocks for under my thighs, and a belt to secure my legs passively into place. Supine bound angle brace. So if you're using a belt, you want to have it low in back, at or below the pelvic rim. And then you just pull your legs in and use the belt to secure them in place. And then some kind of height under your thighs is good for the beginning of the class. So we're not overdoing the poses at the very beginning. Give us a chance to just kind of ease into the postures. So like so. Upper arms are turned out. Hands rest on the floor, palms up. Or you can have your hands palms down on your abdomen or chest. And then just settle down into the pose. Let gravity take over. Breathe quietly, evenly, calmly in and out the nose. This feels so good. I almost want to say, oh, throw out the class plan. Let's just do this for the whole hour.
It's weird. Since I got my immunization shot, my left shoulder has felt better than ever.
All right, so we'll come up from here, but we're going to stay in this pose, but move the bolster around in front. if you're using a bolster. Still have something under your head. And so now it's a little more intense on the groins because there's no support. You're just allowing the groins to open. And this is something to think about for triangle pose, as we do, because we will want to open the groins. You know, when we're rotating in Uttitha Trikonasana, we externally rotate the thighs and we open up the pelvis. We want to make as much space there as we can. So this is just a warm-up to that, but also to start to bring awareness into that neuromuscular memory. How does it feel to move specifically? How to articulate specific muscles and body parts as we move into Trikonasana. So this one has some guidance there. This pose with the props as such kind of automatically externally rotates your thighs and groins and opens the pelvis up. And also it allows for separation and articulation of the thighs going one way and the torso the other. So even though we're not working here to lift and open the chest so much, we're just kind of releasing into the pose. Nonetheless, the thighs, the groins are going one way, the torso is going the other. Plus, one final point for consideration is to notice how your pelvis feels, how your shoulder blades feel, how the back of your head feels, how the floor defines the plane of the back body. There's a tendency in doing Trikonasana to a little bit forget about the back body. Not in my classes, I keep reminding you of it, but there is a tendency because you do want to open up so much in the front body to lose awareness in the back body. But the back body is both a support for the whole pose, but also just as much an opening in a engagement as the front body. And that definition of that plane of the back body, we want to really notice how it feels to have the sacrum, the shoulder blades, the back of the head all in one plane. You don't ever really get there in triangle pose, but you move toward that. So as long as we're here then, and let's add a couple more points to that we can explore while we're lying here comfortably. So take your hands and put them on your thighs, you're right up at the groins, and kind of push the groins away. There won't really be any movement, but as you secure the groins going away toward the wall, they're sort of in front of you, you kind of lengthen your torso. You can separate your torso away from the thighs, groins. And then return to a feeling of the shoulder blades evenly on the floor, sacrum evenly on the floor. Now, take your hands away from your thigh, your groins, take your elbows into the floor, lift your chest up and take the inner edge of the shoulder blades up toward the ceiling, and then take the outer deltoids down toward the floor. So now your spine isn't really touching the floor for most of us. There's like a channel that the spine is no longer touching the floor. Then with your hands on the floor, palms up, externally rotate your upper arms. So that helps and moves with the outer deltoids moving into the floor. Now take the bottom sternum and lift the bottom sternum towards the top sternum and the top sternum toward your chest. And lift the chest, following that action of the inner edge of the shoulder blades lifting up. And then from the center of your chest, move to the outer chest, the outside. And now bring your awareness into your armpits in front, the front of the armpit. We want to take the skin and muscles of the inner armpit and lift it up over the shoulder and back down so that there's a revolving of the skin and muscles of the armpit chest. And in the same way, really, the skin and muscles of the front chest lift up, go over the shoulders and then down, and then add to the action of the lifting up and in of the inner edge of the shoulder blades. Now, as you're here, once again, securing the groins and thighs forward, toward the wall in front of you, and lengthening the torso toward the wall behind you, or toward the crown of your head. Really lift the chest. Think about expanding, separating the ribs, one rib from the other. So you're really lifting and lengthening the rib cage. Okay, so that's enough. So just be at ease. Go back to just resting into the pose. All right, and then we'll come out of the pose. You can roll to your side and push up to a seated posture. And I want to start, we'll come to a standing pose. I want to go ahead and start with just a kind of, to call it a rudimentary triangle pose, Uttitha Trikonasana. But first, we'll do Tadasana, standing pose. We're not going to study it in depth. We're just going to go through a few basic points. We'll go into triangle pose just to kind of get the openness, the awareness, get in touch with that pose, and then we'll start to study it in some greater depth. So take your Tadasana in the center of your mat. Open the soles of the feet, spread the toes, tie the kneecaps into the thighs, internal rotation with the skin and muscles of the thighs, lift the front pelvic bones a bit, tuck in the tailbone just a bit, floating ribs back, skin and muscles of the buttocks down, hamstrings lift up. Let's go with hands on hips for just a moment. Reach the elbows back toward each other. So we're getting that same lift in the torso, same expansion from the center out to the left and right. We want to then practice with getting that action of lifting the skin and muscles of the armpit chest up, over, down and back, and then forward again. So there's that rotation on both. Then we want to lift the skin and muscles of the chest up, over the shoulders and back down. So you know how in back, the trapezius muscles up here, they form kind of a triangle. So they're wide here, and then they come in here. So there's a triangle. And so we want to follow that triangle and then bring the inner edge of the shoulder blades in. And as we bring the inner edge of the shoulder blades in, we kind of lift and again, open and expand the front chest. And go with hands to the sides. And then let's bring the fingertips up to touch. And we'll do some jumping today, if you're okay with it. If you're not good with jumping, don't. But if you're okay with jumping, we're going to just go ahead and jump the hands and feet apart. So now the feet are parallel to each other, Uttitha Hasta Padasana. Check that the toes, the feet are aligned. Kneecaps firm into the thighs, thighs back, torso lifts, chest open. As we're here, think about how I sometimes explain it as kind of a stacking of the planes. So put your hands on your hips for a moment, just so you're at ease, so you don't get too tired. So if we think about the pelvis, the top of the pelvis is forming a plane. The center of the knee is forming a plane. The ankles forming a plane. The soles of the feet, a plane. The underside of the chin, a plane. The crown of the head, a plane. So each of those planes are parallel to each other and stacked one on top of the other. So another way of saying it is shoulders aligned with hips, aligned with knees, although the knees are a little outside, but still the plane, each one stacked right on top of the other. Now, put some extra emphasis on the little toe edge of the feet. And you know how that thing we do in Tadasana where I say to separate the action of separating your feet without actually moving them? So do that here, just as we do in Tadasana. And you see how it kind of, it's like you could say in the iron guards, they talk about cutting in. So you cut the outer thigh in to the bone. It helps you to dig the thigh into the bone. Meanwhile, lift the inner edge of the inner ankle toward the outer ankle. Take the skin and muscles of the outer thigh up. Take the skin and muscles of the inner thigh up. Again, have that pelvis parallel to the floor. So you usually have to lift a little bit in the front pelvis and tuck in the tailbone. Take the floating ribs back, skin and muscles of the buttocks down. Now with the hands on hips, reach the elbows back toward each other. So again, we're lifting the torso, opening the chest. Now, extend the arms out. So as we're here, you want to really extend out and find that rotation of the armpit, chest, skin and muscles. Okay, now you can bend your knees a little and jump your feet back together and return to Tadasana. So now as you've returned to Tadasana, notice all of those same things. I'm not going to go through them again. We'll go through all these details a number of times as we go forward. But now take your good extended Tadasana, bring the fingertips up to touch, jump your feet apart. And now we'll go into a triangle pose. Again, just sort of a test case. Turn your right foot all the way out, trim your left foot in just a bit, tighten the right kneecap into the thigh, external rotation, extend, knee pointing at the thigh, hips and shoulders squared up facing forward, arms up, fully extending, inhale, exhale, Uttitha Trikonasana. Nothing major, just kind of go into a fairly comfortable pose. But think about being in that lateral plane. And then inhale, come up, turn the feet through to the left. Align kneecap with foot, hips and shoulders facing forward. Inhale, exhale, Uttitha Trikonasana. And then inhale again, come up, turn the feet through to the right. Hips and shoulders squared up. Inhale, exhale, triangle pose. Inhale, come up, turn the feet to the left. Inhale, exhale, triangle pose. And then inhale, come up, turn the feet, step or jump the feet back together. Okay, so that's just kind of a touch on triangle pose. We'll go into it much more in a bit. So I want to go right into Ardha Vajrasana with a chair. So if you have a chair, go ahead and grab it. If you don't, does anybody not have a chair? If you don't have a chair, you can do it with your hips against the wall. I'll show that for people who may watch this later without the benefit of a wall. I'm going to put a sticky mat, a second sticky mat on top of the chair. This will help us to stick firmly in place. And then if you have 2 blocks, it's nice if you have one wood block and one soft block, but I'm going, all I have here is wood blocks. Belt is optional. But I'll show you what to do with it if you wish. So, and I think, actually I want to do this with the chair sideways. And I guess I'll do it this way so that I can be facing the camera the way I want to be. So if you have the chair, you're going to sit side straddle the chair sideways. You'll have one block for your feet and another block for your knees or thighs. So the idea of these blocks is that they'll keep your lower body in alignment. If you wish to use the belt, you can put it around your thighs. This will just secure your thighs passively in the pose, like so. So quickly, I'm going to just demonstrate using the wall, and then we'll go into that. So just be at ease for a few moments. If you don't have a chair, you can have your right hip against the wall, take your feet out to the side, and sit down on a block, like so. And then when you do the Bhargavajasana, you'll turn and face the wall like so. So this is a perfectly good way to do. I was tempted to go through it with everyone that way, but there's a lot to do in this class, so I didn't want to do too much of that. Okay. Whichever version you're going to use, and we're not going to do that really detailed turning that I sometimes do, but we'll do some of that. So get yourself aligned, knees directly over your ankles. It's nice to have the camera because now I can really see if I'm doing it correctly myself. So knees over ankles, feet aligned, sitting nice and alert on your sit bones, torso facing forward, your whole body really facing forward, torso lifts, chest open. Turn to the right and put your hands on the seat back. Now, using this, the chair, you can secure yourself in your twist, but you can also help get a lift in the torso. So the thighs are moving down. Throughout the whole class, we're going to be separately articulating. The thighs are almost always going one way and the torso the other. So you want to get that separation. And then using that separation, with an inhale, lift, and with the exhale, turn the torso toward the seat back. Then, to the extent that you're comfortable with it, you turn your head to look over past your right shoulder. No need for straining. Most of the turning, almost all of it, is in the torso. And then the head and neck just kind of follow that. You don't have to crank your head. You can see how, like, if you're backing out of a parking spot in a car, this is the way to do it. You know, you don't want to face forward and then crank your head back. You want to turn your torso, turn your shoulders, and then just gently look over your shoulder behind you to see the traffic. Okay, and then release that, and then we'll go to the second side. Same structure, aligning the feet with the knees, using the blocks to help you do that, if you have them. Thighs down, torso lifts up, chest open. Take your hands to the seat back. Use the seat back to help you secure your twist, but also to lift the torso. And then with an inhale, lift, lengthen the torso, and with the exhale, twist to the left. Again, once you've gotten a comfortable but full twist, then you just follow with your head turning to the left to look over your left shoulder. And release. Take a couple breaths. And back to the first side. And aligning the feet, using the block to help you. Aligning the knees. Again, using the block to help you secure. Nice positioning. Alert and upright on the sit bones. Torso lifts, chest open. Thighs are moving down. Torso is lifting up. And then turn to the right, hands on the seat back. Again, using the seat back to help you lift the torso and also secure the twist. So then you use a little arm strength to amplify that twist and turn your head toward your right shoulder. So now I'm going to give some of the detailed instructions, a little different than I sometimes do in the class, because I want to focus on things a little bit differently, but it's the same idea. So now as you're sitting here with your twist, bring your awareness into your tailbone. Now, I often say turn the tailbone, but the first thing I want you to do is lift the tailbone up toward the heart center. So in a way, you could think of it as tucking the tailbone, but it's a lift and then a twist to the right. It's just the tailbone that you're trying to lift and twist, not the whole lower body there, not the whole pelvic floor. So you it has a little bit of an element of Mula Bandha in it, because there's a little engagement there with in order to do this, you're going to have to engage that central perineal tendon. But the thing here is to kind of lift and twist, turn the tailbone. So then, keeping that, lift your awareness up into the spine, the lumbar spine, and lift there with an inhale, and with the exhale, twist. So as I often say, you can do this sort of in a grosser or a more subtle way. The grosser way is to think about your floating ribs. The right floating rib back, the left floating rib forward, and that's fine. But if you can bring your awareness a little more finely into the very center of the spine and kind of spin the spine, that's really where the action is. Then bring your awareness up the spine into the shoulder blades, and the same thing. The gross action is to take the right shoulder blade back and the left forward, and that's fine. But the more subtle thing is to really rotate, spin the spine itself. And then the shoulders, same thing. Right shoulder back, left shoulder forward. But again, we're turning, spinning the spine up there at the level of the neck. And then turn your head. You're taking the right cheek toward the wall behind you, and you're rotating the left cheek along with it. So you're really turning the face, the skull. And then release. Take a couple of breaths, just facing forward. And then to the second side. Same thing, align the feet and knees. Using the blocks to help you if you have them. Sit upright and alert on the sit bones. Again, articulating the thighs one way, the torso the other. Turn to the left with your hands on the seat back. Keep the feet evenly open on the floor. Lift the torso, open the chest. Inhale, lengthen up. Exhale, twist to the left. Then following the torso twist, turn your head to the left. And then again, bring your awareness into the tailbone and lift the tailbone up toward the heart center and turn it to the left. Bring your awareness into the spine and the low back, the lumbar spine. And again, inhale, lift, exhale, twist in that space. Again, grossly, you can think of bringing the left lower rib cage back, the right lower rib cage forward, but the more fine-tuned nuance is right in the spine twist. Bring your awareness up to the shoulder blades, left shoulder blade back, right shoulder blade forward. But again, in the spine. And then up a little further, left shoulder back, right shoulder forward. Spinning the cervical vertebrae. And then turn your head to the left. Kind of facing up the left cheek toward the wall. And release. Face forward for a few breaths. Okay. Keep the chair for a moment, but turn it like so that you're kind of facing the back of the chair. So come up out of your chair. We're going to be in Tadasana, and just watch this for a moment. I'm going to take triangle pose, but not really a full triangle pose. So I've got the chair there. What I want to do is this. So it doesn't look like much. But the idea here that I want to sort of emphasize is notice the rib cage, the side rib cage. So when I'm up like this, it's even. The left and right sides are parallel. Now when we go into triangle pose, we want to maintain that. So one way to think of it is, think of your pelvis as like a pitcher of water. And the top pelvic rim is how the pitcher is opened. So then we're going to tilt and pour out the water. So we're not going to do this. See how I shorten up here and lengthen here? What we want to do is keep this parallel thing, and we're going to use the chair to help. So I have to really lengthen this and come like so. So I'm tilting the pitcher of water. If you can see what I'm doing here, it's like the action here is in the pelvis, and I keep the rib cage out. So give it a try. So start with a nice upright Tadasana, or beginning of Trikonasana. Focus on keeping this lift, and then turn out to the side. Use the chair as support. So you see how I can, this really helps me to keep that length on both sides so that it's the tilting of that water pitcher. So then you can go further down if you wish, but again, you want to keep that parallel position. See how even as I go further down, I'm able to mostly maintain that parallel. It starts to get a little out of parallel, but that's the idea. Okay, come up and we'll go to the second side. So I'm going to start with the hips squared up, facing forward. Get that, even as I'm a little distorted here from the angle now, but I think you'll still be able to see it, the angle of the camera. And then I'm going to come over and come down to the chair. like so. And again, the idea here is to maintain that parallel position. This is a much more difficult side for me, so I'm not able to do it quite as well. Just going to bring my arm up so you can see. You can bring your arm up if you like or not, but this way you can kind of see that parallel structure a little better. Okay, and then come up. So hopefully you could feel that, and see it, that parallel structure. Okay, chair can go to the side for now. And now, this is called Prasarita Padottanasana, wide angle, wide separated feet, forward bend. So let's start with Tadasana. Bring the fingertips up to touch, and then either step or jump your feet wide apart. Let's go with hands on hips for a moment while we explore this a little. So we want to lift, open, widen the soles of the feet and spread the toes. Tighten the kneecaps into the thighs and extend your weight out into the little toe edge of the feet. The thighs move back. We still stack those planes, the crown of the head, the shoulders, the pelvic rim, the knees, the ankles, the soles of the feet. So we keep that stacked position. And we want to now lift the inner edge of the inner ankle toward the outer ankle, and then take the outer ankle up. So there's a lifting really up through the whole inner thigh from the ankle out, and then a lifting up the outer ankle into the hips. And without moving the feet, we want to do that action of separating them so you really cut in with the thigh muscles into the hips. Now, hands on the hips. We once again want to do that separation, that articulation separate. We want to separate the movement of the stable lower body and then the rotation through the hips. So lift the torso, open the chest, and then rotate through the chest, through the hips, and come down with your hands to the floor. Look forward. Now, the idea here is to get that feeling of the thighs moving back and the torso lengthening forward evenly. So we're not even going to go into the full pose. I just want to go here. So we get that feeling of separation. Lengthen the torso. Weight into the little toe edge of the feet. Kneecaps firm into the thighs. Thigh bones move back. Torso lengthens away from the thigh bones. Inner ankle lifts toward the outer ankle. Lift with that buoyancy up into the inner thigh and groin. And then inhale and come up. Hands on hips, take a couple breaths and we'll do it again. Open, soles of the feet, toes spread, kneecaps firm into the thighs, ankles lift out from the inside. The action of separating the feet without moving them, so you cut in with the skin and muscles here of the outer thigh. Torso lifts up, chest open, inhale. Exhale, rotate through the hips, lengthening the navel and sternum out over the thighs, hands on the floor, look forward. Get that separation. The thighs are moving back, the torso is moving forward. Okay, and then rotating through the hips, come back up and bring the feet back together. Okay, you need a drink of water. Take a little break there. Okay, do my notes. You know it's going to get nasty if I'm reading notes. So I'm going to start giving you a lot of details. We're going to start sort of normal, and then I'm going to start giving you a lot of details on what to do in triangle pose and such things. For the moment, though, we're just going to take a fairly normal Tadasana. So find your Tadasana in the center of your mat. And I can see I'm going to be a little tight on time, so I'm going to start to move quickly with this, and I'm going to throw a lot at you, but you know, we'll explore some of the details more in future classes. So let's start with hands on hips. Lift the ball of the foot, lengthen, widen across the sole of the foot, spread the toes, same with the other foot. Kneecaps firm into the thighs. Think about that stacking of the planes. Shoulders over hips, over knees, over ankles. Underside of the chin also parallel in that same set of planes. Now, do the action of separating your feet without moving them. So then you feel that engagement in the outer thigh and hip cutting in. Now, press down with the big toe mounds and internally circularize the skin and muscles of your thighs. The same with the groins. They internally circularize. Now, keeping all of that, we're going to do that tucking in the tailbone as we did on the chair. You're going to bring the tailbone forward and up, not twisting at this point. That'll be for triangle pose. But for now, it's just forward and up, and the pubic bone back. Floating ribs back. Skin and muscles of the buttocks down. Torso lifts up, chest open from the center out to the left and right. Circularize the skin and muscles of the armpits. And as you do that, you can bring the inner edge of the shoulder blades in. Same thing with the skin and muscles of the chest. Move up, over the shoulders, and down in that triangular way, following the shape of the trapezius. And that, again, guides you into the inner edge of the shoulder blades coming in. And as the inner edge of the shoulder blades come in, the chest opens. Take the inner ankle toward the outer ankle. That also is part of that action of separating the feet without moving them. Then bring the fingertips up to touch. And either jump or step your feet wide apart. Again, let's bring the hands to the hips. And let's work from the ground up. Again, lift the sole of the ball of the foot, lengthen and widen. Same with the other foot, lengthen and widen, separate the toes. See that the feet and toes are aligned. Kneecaps firm into the thighs, thighs move back. Do the action of separating the feet without moving them, so you get that grip cutting in with the thigh muscles. We're gonna then lift the torso up, a little bit of lift in the front pelvic bones, tuck the tailbone forward and up. And again, as we lift the torso, separate the rib cages, the ribs. Get as big a lift and openness as you can. Take the skin and muscles of the armpit chest, circularize. Skin and muscles of the chest up, over, and down and back, and then inside, move in with the inner edge of the shoulder blades. Separate the hands and arms now. Really reach for the opposite walls. One thing you can do here is your triceps are here underneath. Use the triceps to lift the arm up into the shoulder. And take the elbows down. Open the palms and extend. And then bring the fingertips. Actually, let's just jump back into Tadasana. Reset your Tadasana. All those same details. Now, actually, we're going to go into triangle pose this time. So if you want to use blocks for triangle pose, go ahead and put them into position as you wish. And then come to your Tadasana. On your own, think through your Tadasana, all those details. I'll be giving you detailed instructions again in a moment, but not in Tadasana. So you take your own upright, extended Tadasana. Bring the fingertips up to touch. Separate the hands and feet widely. And now go through the details again. As if you're doing Tadasana. But now it's Uttitha Hasta Padasana. Now, turn the right foot out. Turn the left foot in. I'm going to have you put your hands on your hips for a moment, just so you don't get too exhausted in the deltoids. So, as we often do now, so lift the ball of the right foot, widen and lengthen the ball of the foot, separate the toes back down. Same with the left. Lift and widen if you can, spread the toes. Now, your weight is somewhat in the little toe edge of the back foot and somewhat in the big toe ball of the right foot. Kind of more the inner right foot, but even between the feet. Kneecaps firm into the thighs. Now, looking at that right leg, externally rotate the thigh. So the foot and leg, it all moves as a unit. So you want to turn that right thigh out to align the kneecap with the foot. Now, if you can see with me, and this is something I always do, I have to really pay attention. I have to reassert that extension of the big toe mound and big toe back to the floor because it wants to roll out with the thigh. So you have to do those things independently. Really, the shin turns in to help you move that big toe down, but the thigh moves out. So it's complicated, it's tough. Now, keeping that, turn the hips and shoulders to face forward. Relocate the stacking of the planes. Don't tilt the hips, right? So the pelvis is flat like that pitcher of water. You don't want to spill it. And then all the other planes are even with it. Now, recalling that thing about the pitcher of water, when we go into the pose, we want to keep the length and the sides of the ribs. So start with the hands on the hips and get that lift and openness in the chest. Bring the arms up. Inhale. Exhale, extend, and come into the pose. Now let's take the left hand to the left hip. So now, check everything. Big toe mound on the floor. Kneecap firm into the thigh. External rotation of that right thigh. Little toe edge of the left foot firmly down. Lift the inner left ankle toward the outer left ankle. So get that lift and buoyancy in the inner left thigh. Buoyancy in the inner right thigh. Lengthen both sides of the chest. Don't round down. Now follow have your head stay in line with the spine. So Tyler, lift the crown of your head. That's it. Now we're going to rotate. We're going to take the left hip thigh back and the center of the right buttock bone forward. So we're steering the hips. We take the right thigh and groin toward the left foot. We lengthen the right armpit chest away from that right groin. Extend the left arm up. Now, find that circularization of the skin and muscles of the armpit chest. Take the skin and muscles of the front chest up over the shoulders, down and back, inner edge of the shoulder blades in. Turn the torso, taking the left shoulder back, spinning the spine like we did with Bharadvajasana, and then turn your head and look up and past your left thumb. And then inhale and come up. Long hold. Square up your hips and shoulders and take a few breaths. So that's maybe half of the instructions I wanted to give. We're running out of time. Okay, turn the left foot out. Turn the right foot in. Long and wide across the sole of the right foot. long and wide across the sole of the left and the right. Kneecaps firm into the thighs. Weight evenly between the little toe edge of the back foot and the inner edge of the forward foot. Tighten the left kneecap into the thigh. Externally rotate that thigh. Hip, aligning the knee with the foot. Keep that left big toe mound down. Hips and shoulders face forward. See that the pelvis is level. You're not spilling water out of that picture. Jim, you're a little tilted in your hips. So left and right, parallel to the floor. Bring the arms up. Fully extend. Inhale. Exhale, come into the pose. Uttitha Trikonasana. Take the right hand to the right hip to help guide that right hip back and the center of the left buttock going forward. The left thigh groin moves toward the right foot. Lengthen the left armpit chest away from that left groin. See that you're not spilling the water. You are spilling the water now. You've turned your pelvis so that the water will pour out, but you're not rounding the sides. Your rib cage on the left and right are equally lengthening as you come down. Again, the right hip and thigh move back. Center of the left buttock bone goes forward. Take the right floating ribs back, the left floating ribs forward. Take the right shoulder back, left shoulder forward. Again, we're really spinning the spine as we did with Bharadvajasana in the chair. Then bring that right arm up. Turn the torso. Look up and past that left thumb. Inhale and come up. Turn your feet. Let's keep the feet apart. We'll do it one more time to each side. I'm not going to talk about it this time. This time through, you just do on your own to think through all the details. Turn the feet to the right. Square up the hips and shoulders facing forward. Bring the arms up. Inhale. Uttitha Trikonasana. Now work through the pose on your own. Right leg more straight, Jim. Tighten that kneecap into the thigh. Yeah. All right, inhale, come up, turn everything through to the left. Think it all through on your own. Inhale, exhale, Uttitha Trikonasana. All right, inhale and come up. Square up the feet facing forward. Let's do one more, just standing forward bend. Uttitha Hasta Padasana, or Prasarita Padasana. So here you can join us as well. Inhale, lift the torso. Exhale, forward bend. Maybe our screen is just frozen. So just a comfortable standing forward bend, wide-legged. Let your head and neck release. And then inhale and come up and grab stuff for Shavasana. We'll go right into Shavasana. We'll do a few things to release into it, but basically right into Shavasana. There were quite a few more details I wanted to go into, but I could see that it was going to be really a struggle to keep pressing. So I think what we'll do is next week, hopefully I'll remember, we'll kind of pick back up and we'll go into some more of the details, some more nuance of some of the movement and action. So take your setup as you wish it to be and stretch out into Supta Tadasana, supine mountain pose. To start though, do all of those same things that we were doing in regular Tadasana. So we're opening and widening, lengthening the soles of the feet, spreading the toes, tighten the kneecaps, extend the heels, lift the inner edge of the shoulder blades, take the outer deltoids down, get that evenness, that sort of, even though we're in a different orientation, we're still stacking in a way those planes. Locate all of the symmetry, evenness, balance you can there. And then let's hug the right knee into the chest and extend the left heel. No hard work here, no big pressure, just comfortable extensions. Keeping the sacrum and the shoulder blades and the back of the head evenly, comfortably on the floor. Move through Supta Tadasana to the second side, changing the interlace of the fingers, hug the left knee, extend the right heel and big toe mound. Once more to the first side, moving through Supta Tadasana, hug the right knee, extend the left heel and big toe mound. And again, through Supta Tadasana, second side, changing the interlace of the fingers, hug the left knee, extend the right heel. And then return to Supta Tadasana, and then let the feet and legs fall out away from each other. Let the weight of your body release into the floor. Let your hands and arms rest on the floor, palms up, or you can bring your hands to your torso, palms down. But just let go now. Let go of all effort. Just move with the quietness of your breath toward or into a little place of stillness. All right, then take a few deeper breaths, bring awareness back into fingers and toes. Let your eyes gently open. Bring your hands to your abdomen or torso. Bend your knees. Roll to your side. And then gently push to a seated posture. All right. Thanks everyone for coming. Namaste.
Namaste.
I'm going to, let me show you one thing before you all dodge off. I think I may send you everybody this material before the next class so we can dive a little more deeply into this triangle pose stuff. There are two things that I've relied on a great deal in designing this class. This is a picture, obviously, for those who are familiar with them, of Mr. Iyengar's or drawing of him. And it shows some of the actions of the pose. You see all those arrows? That's all stuff you're supposed to do in triangle pose, every single one of them. And that's really just talking about the movement of the skin and muscles. You know, it's you know, sort of on a surface level, really. So there's a lot more to it than that. But I'll send you a copy of that. The other thing I've used is there's this guy, his name's Brad something. Brad Priddy, P-R-I-D-D-Y. This is an article that, and I'm going to send this to everybody. It's actually an Iyengar approach to Trikonasana that is pretty much based almost exactly on this, you know, and it sort of breaks it down. Do this, do this, do this. There's probably at least 50 instructions on triangle pose. So it's detailed. And we did, what did we do, 25? So we did about half maybe. So we'll do more next week. So there we have it, triangle pose, and we will we'll do more next week.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
For
Bye,
now,
all.
say